John Edwards from MaryvilleSaints.com alongside head soccer coach David Korn. And Coach, thanks for joining us for a few minutes here today. The exhibition season is over, and you get ready for the regular season, which starts for you Friday night at home against Lynn.
Yep, we are excited. It's fun to be able to turn the page and get to see the progress the guys made in a couple of weeks, and awesome to be playing fall soccer again after not being able to do it last year.
Talk about the season last year for you guys. You played in the spring, something that you guys had to wait out because of the COVID pandemic. You have a very successful campaign despite the injuries that you had during the course of the season, leading you to the second conference championship in 3 years.
Yeah, I think the progress the guys made, the fact that they were able to be adaptable to a different year, and even some of the challenges relating to limitations we had in the fall and our preparation last year, and then how we had to kind of play through the spring and change a little bit, like you mentioned, through some injuries was great. I thought, for us, we had a really deep group, and I think that's even been something so far this year that we've been really pleased with is, our ability to make changes and have a number of guys that can step in and play a role. And, just like last spring, there could be injuries, there could be illness, there could be other things that just come up adversity wise. And, I think as a team, you have to be able to handle those things, to grow from them, just like we would grow from a performance in one game to the next, or we'd grow from a training each day.
You come into the new year with some new players on your roster. You lost some to graduation. You lost some because of the fifth-year eligibility that some players were able to pick up. Let's talk about some of the new additions for your team this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to have a number of guys coming in who we think can help the team right away. We got a number of players from the St. Louis area, 3 boys, Mason Crew, Gavin Kalish, and Jimmy Doherty, who all played at a great club and high school levels here in the area. A couple boys from the region, Bryce Dickerson, who's from Kansas, and Caden, who is a player from Omaha. Both also played with, teams that were state champions, at the club level, as well as being able to have a ton of experience playing nationally. And we added a few players in goal that we think are going to continue to push moving forward. Both Logan and Tommaso have done a great job in their first couple weeks here, and a couple players internationally that we think will help us in the back line, Carl and Albie, who are both players that we think across the back are going to continue to improve our overall defense.
Talk about the European invasion that you've had for your roster, but you've been able to balance that with local product. How is it that you've been able to obtain so many European players over the last couple of years, especially this year with a COVID year where really maybe you haven't been able to see them play as much as you would on any other year?
Yeah, I mean, this past year, I feel like every player, despite being in St. Louis to Italy, we've had the same limitations of, for a period, we weren't allowed to go and recruit, so everything was done virtually. The best thing to be is, at least presently, there's such incredible film technology, such incredible access to video, that we can see players play a lot through film. Although maybe that's not as ideal as being there in person, it's made it a lot easier from a recruiting perspective. So again, I mean, last fall, we may not have been able to go out and recruit, but to watch a high school game over video, to watch a player play in another country over video, to watch, even players a few states over play was awesome. I mean, we probably got to see guys play in some sense, more by reviewing film and really studying them than we might have in person in the past few years. And, I think even at the professional level, that's become a big part of it is video is such an important tool for our own team's preparation from game to game, from a recruitment perspective. So I think that's one advantage to maybe even recruiting 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, where we didn't have that same access to as much video, and you would have really had to rely on being on the road and flying and driving and doing all of that.
Defensively, Liam Walraven comes back for you in goal. Don Riggio, who's been with the team in the program for a long time, back with you. Andrew Scholes, another starter, back for you again this year. Defensively, you guys seem to be pretty set with the core that you've had over the last couple of years and adding some of those new players defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Liam's done a good job in goal, and Nick Heeman is a returning guy for us as well. And the two of them have really pushed each other, and I think we feel really confident in our goalkeeping position. Yeah, it's nice to have Dom's experience as a fifth-year player. Andrew's entering his fourth year. Fabian Wettel was a first-year player for us last year who's done a phenomenal job at our right back position. And we think will continue to play a big role. And then even the emergence of some of our younger guys like Cameron Caldwell at center back has done a really, really good job there. And I think we have a good core. I think we're adaptable to a lot of games. If we're in periods where we have to defend more, in periods where we're on the ball more, and we really trust those guys. I think overall they can add a ton of experience and leadership and be a big part of our success as a team.
Latter part of the spring season, you guys were hurt defensively with some injuries. Do you feel like you have a little bit more depth going into the beginning of this season?
We do, yeah, we definitely do. I mean, that is a nice bonus. We have a couple guys as well that will continue to feature for the team in the weeks to come. So, I think as we get into the first month of the season or so, I think we're going to have a lot of options there, a lot of competition there, and when you're playing 2 games a week, sometimes you're going to need more than just our starting 4 players at that position, or even starting 3 players depending on how we line up as a back group. And yeah, I think that's key to not just having one good game, but being able to put together a good run throughout the course of the season.
Midfield, you're still strong. Mirza Haschik led the country to spring and scoring. Cedric Sengel comes back again. You add some players in the midfield. Miguel Cobos played some big minutes for you last spring with some injuries for you. Talk about your midfield.
Yeah, we like that group a lot and think that they have the just a really good balance of different skill sets. I mean, Mears has been a really attack-minded midfielder for us. He covers a ton of ground, and I think just the spaces he finds himself in really support our attack. And he can score a number of ways. He can score on the run of play. He can score off of crosses. He can score on dead balls. And I think that's been something that he's continued to grow at, and we think he'll continue to help our team out in terms of leading to goals and assists. Seti's been a really good leader for us. He's been really well-rounded in terms of what he can do in midfield. And both Miguel Cobos and Emil Antonacci have been kind of really good defensive midfielders for us in keeping balance. And, we think those guys, as well as some of our younger players, Carter Rice has continued to grow in his role in midfield. Mason Crew has done a really good job centrally. And I think we'll have some players that had an injury this last year that will make an impact this fall. Kelvin and Mo are 2 guys that are coming back, and we're really excited to see how they impact the group as well.
Up front, Braden Johnson, JD Sohn, they've been around for a while. Guys who have tremendous speed, put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. Talk about them and talk about some of the new additions as well.
Yeah, we've got a really good forward group. I mean, like you mentioned, Braden is a player who right away his freshman year on has made a big impact. Ben Brody's a guy up top for us that really can press and work and get behind teams and cause problems for our opponents. And then we've got a couple other forwards who we think continue to show well. And Victor was our second leading goal scorer last year as a freshman. Had a great summer. We're excited about him and his versatility to play in a couple spots up top for us. And then Jimmy Doherty as a freshman right away has made a really big impact. And not only this year, but we think years to come will do well. And then some of our wide players, Grady, Ricardo, Tim Smith, like you mentioned, guys like JD, those guys have all done well. And even some of our younger players, Bryce and Caden, have offered us a lot in the wing. So we're excited. It's hard to get 11 guys on the field because we've got a lot of choices, but hopefully the competition, hopefully the depth of the team and just the overall quality is something that over the next few weeks is a big part of the team's success. And if anything, makes our jobs as coaches, more difficult when we've got to think of a lineup.
You start at home with Lynn and Davenport this weekend before you start the conference schedule. Is there the opportunity for a lot of these guys to get minutes early on for you guys just to get some of those playing minutes before you get into the heavy conference schedule? Because once you hit conference schedule, it's every weekend and you're not home. You'll start on the road this year and then you're not home until the end of September.
Yeah, we get some home games in non-conference, which is nice, and we really wanted to make sure that was there, like you mentioned, because of the way the conference schedule worked, where we'd be on the road to start. The good news, I think, right away in our first 3 exhibitions, we got a lot of experience for players across the board. We were able to play all of our goalkeepers, everybody on the roster was in games and played meaningful minutes. So I think that's great. So as we start our season, I think our guys are prepared. I think they can play with different groups of players, and now we just have to continue to build our continuity as a group as a whole, and just continue to grow from each performance, both things we've done well and things that have been a challenge. But you mentioned, I mean, we're excited to host two really good opponents in Lynn and Davenport. I mean, over the span of the last 7 years, Lynn's won a national championship. They've been in a Final Four. Were picked again this year to win their conference. So we know they're going to be amongst one of the top teams in the country, and Davenport's no different. I mean, they're a team that's, won their conference over the past several years. They're a team that's been in conference championships, and even in their transition recently from, NAI have immediately been an impact and one of the better teams in the region. So we're excited. I think at the end of the day, we want to be playing some of the best teams in the country. We want to be there. Our ultimate goal is not only a conference championship, but a national championship. So these are really good opportunities for us to continue to measure ourselves and hopefully push ourselves into an even, better place in our own performances.
What's the one thing that excites you most about this upcoming season?
Just the group. I mean, they're just a lot of fun to work with. They get along well. You mentioned the diversity of the team, and I think it's neat to see the way that they interact. As a coach, I feel like the greatest joy we get is kind of watching them grow and overcome obstacles, watching them have success, and ultimately get to see how far we push as a team. And to be a part of that as a coach is a lot of fun. I'm lucky to work with some really great coaches, some really good student athletes. It makes it fun to come to work. It makes it a challenge. I'm not here to think about how to keep, pushing them in the right way. And it's nice to have something to do every day that doesn't feel like a job or a burden. So I really enjoy just getting to work with our players and coaches.
How easy is it to coach a team, a group of players like this, young men who have such camaraderie with each other? They bond so well, pregame, postgame. It's a group that looks like they're just having fun all the time.
It is fun. If anything, sometimes you're there to tell them, hey, it's great. We like being around each other. It's time to go to work. But they have a really good balance. I mean, obviously their ambitions are big, and I think they put in a tremendous amount of work, not only when we're in training, but when we're away from the field. I mean, a lot of guys are spending extra time at the field. They're in the training room getting extra treatment or going through their prehab or post training recovery, and they're studying film in between sessions. They want to come out and do extra. So it's just fun. I think if anything pushes us as a coach to keep challenging them. But over the span of a season, when week after week feels the same routine, you need that camaraderie. You need guys that want to compete for each other, that will be sprinting to the corner flag at a goal just as much as pick each other up when we make a mistake. And I think if we're going to be successful, we're going to continue to need that to be a big part of our identity.
Coach, I appreciate a few minutes. Look forward to seeing you this weekend against two really tough opponents at home before you start the conference schedule here in the middle of the month.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate all your support and all your help at our games.
Coach, we appreciate it. We look forward to you this weekend.
Thanks, John.